Any truth that you're aware of this private equity move now that he's out of his deal, allegedly?
I don't know nothing about that.
Okay. Because
I know that whatever he end up getting, he gonna shake the world, nigga. I know that. Everything changes.
There was no like reputable source that was putting this out, but
it's never a reputable source if it didn't come from him.
Allegedly, he is now completely done with his UMG obligations. I don't know if that's true at all.
I don't know if that's true either.
But I can definitely see a bunch of private equity firms, obviously, wanting to invest in the future career of Drake.
UMG is going to do everything in their powers to make Drake happy and not lose him.
All right, let's stop right there. So you actually think that after this lawsuit, UMG is just going to extend their hand and open up their purse to pay this man whatever he wants? Stop the cap. Stop the cap. Is that not literally the complete opposite of what the lawsuit alleges? Would that not confirm every single suspicion Drake had about them in the first place? Like, that would basically be UMG admitting they should have done this from the beginning. You all really think that is how this plays out? Let's keep going.
If Drake holds up 5 fingers and says that's all he got, that's his negotiation. 5. We know what letters after the 5. We don't even have to talk about that. Just hold up 5 fingers. And I think Universal says, done.
You think Universal would give artists $5 billion?
I think they will give Drake $5 billion.
$5 billion?
I think they will give Drake $5 billion.
All right, so we did a quick check on the numbers. Now, these are all estimates and approximations, but based on streaming numbers, album sales, touring influence, publishing, merch, and licensing, Drake has likely generated well over $1 billion, possibly closer to $2 billion in gross revenue connected to UMG. So after payouts, taxes, and everything else, he probably ends up around $1 billion net. But even if we just stick with the gross figure, we are talking about a shade under $2 billion generated throughout his career with UMG. The man has moved 170 million records worldwide. He became Spotify's most streamed artist of the entire 2010s and surpassed 50 billion Spotify streams years ago. His streaming revenue alone helped boost UMG's valuation on the stock market and cemented its dominance during the streaming era. You have to give him all of his credit for that. And they signed him to that $400 million deal. Now people are out here saying UMG is going to turn around and sign a 39-year-old hip-hop artist to a deal worth 12 times what they previously paid him. Not double, not triple, $5 billion. They would never recoup that. That does not even make financial sense. But these guys are so adamant because their loyalty to this man runs that deep. Blind loyalty is something else. Now, Spotify pays somewhere between 0.003 of a cent to 0.005 of a cent per stream before label splits and publishing allocations. You understand what that means, right? So if he had 1,000 streams, he would walk away with roughly $3. If Drake's catalog has generated over 100 billion total streams across all platforms throughout his career, that alone could represent somewhere between 300 million and $500 million before the splits. So he is absolutely bringing in major numbers, but $5 billion is just completely ridiculous. And once again, let us give him every bit of credit he deserves. Highest performing catalog in modern music history, Drake's tours boost his streaming numbers, merchandise sales, catalog consumption, and his licensing value whenever his music gets used by the NBA or anyone else. And UMG also benefits from songwriting royalties, licensing, TikTok and Instagram usage, commercials, films, and radio play across the board. But here's the thing. From what I understand, when he eventually walks away, he's not walking away with his publishing. And if I'm wrong on that, please correct me in the comments. UMG is already going to keep benefiting from everything he has already built. So even if he were to drop another 1, 2, 3, or 4 albums going forward, that new material would probably account for less than 10 to 20% of what he has already accomplished, which most people would consider his greatest and most record-breaking work anyway. They're already going to profit from that catalog regardless. So why would they need to pay $5 billion? Unless there's something buried deep in that paperwork where he is handing over all future publishing rights in exchange for his past work, which I honestly highly doubt. There's simply no reason for them to come off that kind of money. Let's get back to what these guys were saying.
Give you 2 or 3. What's the difference?
2 or 3.
It's a lot of this.
No, it's not. At that level, no, it's not. You give me $3 billion, you can give me $5 billion.
I don't know how.
You think they don't have it? You think they're like, that's a little stretch?
No. Universal.
How much money do you think Drake has generated for UMG over the years?
Over $5 billion.
That is simply incorrect. That is nothing more than a blind guess. We just walked through the actual numbers together, and for somebody to sit there and say, if you have $3 billion, you should give me 5, do they even understand how much $1 billion actually is? A lot of you may have heard this before, but just to put it in perspective, to count $1 million at $1 per second would take you roughly 13 days. To count $1 billion at $1 per second would take you 32 full years. So $5 billion counted at $1 per second would take somewhere between 150 and 160 years, which would put us all the way back in the 1860s. So yeah, let's keep things in perspective here. Anyway, let's see how they wrap this whole thing up. So what exactly are we talking about here? We are sitting here acting like what is being said is outrageous simply because we have never seen one single artist receive that kind of deal before. I understand that part of the argument, but I think the point is being missed entirely. The question being raised is whether Universal actually has $5 billion available. And yes, of course, Universal has $5 billion. But does that mean they are handing it over to Drake? Absolutely not. That is one of those classic logical traps where someone asks you a yes or no question and uses your yes answer to make their entire point seem valid. It does not work that way. And once again, Drake's frustration really stems from the promotional push that UMG gave Kendrick during their battle, because once the label felt Kendrick was winning, they shifted their weight behind him and promoted him heavily. That was the real issue on top of his existing $400 million deal. So realistically, Drake may have been pushing for $600 million, maybe $800 million, or even $1 billion if he was feeling himself at the peak of his career. All of those figures are at least grounded in reality, but $5 billion is a light year away from $1 billion, and even further away from $500 or $600 million. So once again, salute to Rory and Meek Mill for doing their thing. We know exactly which side of the fence you are on, but we simply cannot let things like this go unchallenged, because people out here might actually believe them without stopping to crunch the real numbers, put their business hat on, and think it all the way through. You know what I'm saying?